Hey everybody, today we're making bread. This is a super fast and easy bread recipe. Since we got this KitchenAid stand mixer, we haven't actually purchased bread. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So I have here 420 grams of flour, got 30 grams of olive oil, 30 grams of sugar. I'm gonna add a teaspoon of salt. I have a 7-gram packet of dry active yeast. This is not the instant, this is just the originals. And then I have here 280 grams of milk. This is whole milk. And I've heated it in the microwave for about 1.5 minutes, and it's at 105 degrees. This is important to have warm milk so that your yeast gets a little bit better of a start to activate and to bloom. You don't want to go past 110. That'll be a little too hot, and then you'll start killing your yeast. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my olive oil, I'm gonna add it to my milk, I'm gonna get my sugar, add that too. Make sure every little drop of olive oil gets in there. Then I am going to open my packet of dry active yeast, and I'm going to just simply throw it in there. Now, people say that the sugar helps the yeast activate. You know, you really don't need to, but I like to just add all my wet ingredients with the yeast now. I'm not adding the salt because salt can hurt the yeast a little bit, so I'm gonna wait until this is bloomed for about 5 minutes, and then we'll get going. So we'll be right back in 5 minutes, and you'll see how this is gonna like come to life. Okay, so it's been a little over 5 minutes, and you can see all the activity that the yeast is having here. So it's definitely ready now. And this is a sign that it's alive. You don't want to use this and have old dead yeast. If not, your bread's not going to rise. So I'm going to add my teaspoon of salt now. And then I'm going to give it a little mix. And then it's going to go into my stand mixer. I have my stand mixer with my hook attachment. I'm going to go ahead and just drop this in there. Alright. Next comes the flour. I'm going to go ahead and drop that in there very carefully, not to make a mess. Now I'm going to set this to the low speed until it starts to mix. And then, so right here it's at 1/2. I'm going to go a little more. Just do this slowly so that it doesn't make a huge mess all over the place. So now I'm at a 2 setting. Let it do its thing. You want to let it incorporate. Now here I like to just pause a little bit and scrape everything off. Make sure no little dry pieces are stuck to the bowl. And I'm gonna keep mixing it. Eventually it's going to get super sticky like it just did now. But you want it to work it until it combines. It's going to take a few minutes. So like 10-15 minutes of doing this, and it'll eventually combine back. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes, and I can see the dough is wanting to like form up into a big clump. So I'm just going to help it along. I'm going to stop it for a bit. And I'm just gonna scrape the bowl. I like to do this just because I want everything to just be very well incorporated. And this does help speed the process up along. You can see that it sticks to itself very well. Now I have this speed set to 3. The instructions say not to go past 2, but whatever. Gonna let that go, and you can see it's already like all clumped up into one, so it's all stuck together. I'm gonna let this go for like 3 to 5 more minutes, And that's all she wrote. Okay, so it's been 3 more minutes. This dough is already done and ready. So I'm gonna go ahead, turn off my machine, drop it. Now, before anything, I have my bowl here and I'm gonna grease it up. I'm doing this right now. I'm just dropping a little bit of oil in there. I'm doing this right now because I'm used to take advantage of my hands being greased up so that I can easily grab the dough because it's gonna be very tacky, very sticky. And that's how it's supposed to be, but you definitely want to have greased hands for this. So I'm just gonna go and grease this very well. Really can't get away with not greasing this because it is going to stick to your bowl. Got to do this. And do it generously, don't be afraid. You saw how much oil I put in there. This is olive oil, by the way. So now my hands have a little bit of oil there. I'm gonna go ahead, grease them up, and I'm gonna grab my dough. Just gonna go ahead, grab it. I'm gonna use the help of my little spatula here. It's gonna be sticky, so it's all right. Grab it. I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of like form it into a ball and kind of get like this little seams in there. Kind of like close it up, if you will. So now it's all nice. It's nice and pretty. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna cover it in some plastic wrap and let it rest for 2 hours or more. It's gonna depend on the temperature of your house, but 2 hours is a good ballpark. It's gonna rise like maybe double, triple in size. So we'll be back in 2 hours. Okay, so it's been 2 hours and you can see it has risen quite a bit. Look at it, you see a lot of air pockets in there. So before anything, I'm gonna grease my bread dish here. I have some butter and I'm gonna just grease it all. I cut a parchment paper for the bottom, so I'm not gonna grease the bottom. Just gonna get my little butter here and just like rub it on the edges. I'm gonna generously do that. It's easier this way for me than to just kind of like grab it like individually. I mean, kind of like without the little piece of paper there. It helps to keep it on there. Okay, that looks good to me. Gonna put my little piece of parchment paper down. I cut it so that it fits perfectly in the bottom of my bread dish here, my bread pan. Now I'm gonna get my just a little bit of flour and I'm gonna coat it on to my cutting board. Gonna make sure it's floured well. If it's not floured well, your dough is going to stick. So it's gonna get a little messy, it's alright. Alright, that looks pretty good to me. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and punch my dough down. I'm gonna grab it and into, okay, there it is. I don't have a rolling pin, so I'm just gonna roll this out to like the whole surface of my cutting board, because that is gonna be the perfect measurement for my bread dish. You want to get it essentially about this length. So this here is roughly around this, as you can see. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that into a rectangle. So now that we have our dough rolled out, we are going to tightly roll it. So I'm just gonna grab it and just roll it really as tight as I possibly can. I'm gonna tuck the edges like this, kind of making sure it's all pretty even here. I'm gonna pat it down and into my baking dish it goes. Just gently gonna pat it to make sure it's getting an even rise. I'm gonna wait until this has risen above the pan. So pretty much to where it's kind of having like a bread shape. It's gonna rise above, you'll see. It's gonna take about an hour to do that. But again, depending on the temperature of your house, it may rise quicker, may take longer. So just as soon as it pops up. You don't want it to rise too much. If not, it's gonna get holes in there. And I don't like my bread to have any holes. I'm making this as sandwich bread, like white bread. So I want it to be very nice and consistent in the way it is. So no, resemble as much as possible white bread. So it's gonna be good. Okay, so it's been an hour and 10 minutes, and I've been doing this little number every like 10 minutes, just so that it doesn't like compress it in any way, to allow it to rise nicely. So it's pretty much ready to go now. I'm gonna put this in the oven for 25 minutes at 350 degrees. And then we'll be all set with our bread. Looking good. Okay, so it's been 25 minutes and our bread is ready. So immediately, just kind of take it out. It's gonna slide out really easily. Just very carefully set it on a wire rack. And there you go. Bread complete. Okay, so it's been about an hour and our bread is cooled down. So let's go ahead and cut ourselves a little sample. I find that I cut it better if I like flip it on its side. I can get like a better 90-degree angle. I'm terrible at cutting, so I've been meaning to get like a bread slicer, like a little guide. There you go. A little hole formed there. It's not bad. Look at this. It's really, really good. Now we're gonna do a little taste test. I have some butter here. All right. Let's give it a little taste. Now this bread, it's really, really good. I can't explain to you. It doesn't taste like a store-bought white bread, but it's in that ballpark of taste buds. If you get what I'm saying, it's really good. And it'll last about a week. And so, I mean, this never lasts a week in our house. And it's just me and my wife, and we finished this like 5 days. It's super good. And just with some butter like this, you know, it's a good little snack. Try it. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining and thanks for watching. See you next time.